Welcome, I'm Lizzie Brooks, and this is Full Body Dynamic Weights. So you're going to need just whatever weights that you have. If you are newer, definitely drop down, don't go too heavy on the weights. If you are a little more experienced with weights, you can of course go up. If all you have is what you have, then we'll do our best to work with those weights. If they become too heavy, then I would recommend that you do the action without the weights for a while, do fewer reps. I always record with smaller, lower levels of weight so that I don't get as winded as I do in real life. So I'm gonna work with some 5s and 10s, and some of the time you will just need one weight. So come and join me on your mat. Okay, so sit up nice and tall. You can have a blanket or towel handy to pad your knees. Inhale fully. Sigh out. Once more, inhale. And sigh out. Let's get some stretches in. Reach up, grab one wrist, kind of below the wrist, and reach over and kind of lengthen that side. Breathing. So I never do weights without stretching. Come back through center and switch sides, lengthen, and take it to the other side. So almost all of my weights workouts, actually all of them, are kind of fusions of weights and yoga. Inhale, reach up, turn your palms forward, get long. Exhale, take the elbows back down to your side body, lift the sternum. And now we're gonna round the spine and press the palms away from us. And then from here, turn the palms up and come to a back bend, pull the hands in. We're gonna do a push and round, and then a back bend as we pull back. Do that one more time. Exhale, just getting the spine and shoulders ready. And then inhale, pull up. And shake that out. Hands onto the legs. Roll the shoulders back and down a few times. And let's prepare our back body and our legs a little bit more. So come into a downward facing dog and just pedal out here. So I love downward dog to pedal out and get into the hamstrings and the calves, Achilles tendons. Really nice way to do that. And it's just nice to be kind of in this orientation to the earth, because most of the time we're not. Take a deep breath in your downward dog. Exhale to plank. Inhale in plank. Exhale, downward dog. If ever I say plank and you want to do a knees down plank, that's just fine. Inhale in downward dog. Exhale, plank or knees down plank. In both, you're rounding the spine slightly, not super round, but enough to feel the organs move towards the spine. Inhale, exhale, downward dog. Walk your left foot in a little bit and raise the right leg and just explore that right hip. Bend the knee if you want, move it around, circle it in both directions. You can go through extension and bending, getting into the hip flexors a little bit more, and then place that right foot down, move it over to the left just a little bit, left leg gets its turn to be explored, opening into that hip. Don't feel like you need to do something that looks like anything you've done before. Play around with that space as long as it feels good. You're doing it right. And then lower that left foot back down. Classic downward facing dog. Inhale. Exhale, lower slowly to the knees. Let's pad our knees if that feels good to you. And we'll grab 2 weights. And these can be, again, I would say if you're used to working out, 10s, or if you're really strong, higher. And if you're not, let's go 5s or below. So from here, and again, whatever you have is gonna work. Take yourself into a tabletop with your hands on the weights underneath the shoulders. Draw your organs towards the spine. This time we're not rounding, we're creating a shelf of support for that long spine. And then we're gonna try not to waver the hips side to side, but keep them steady. Knees can be hips distance apart. And we're gonna begin with a lift and a lower, alternating right arm and left arm. Getting into our back bodies, into the triceps. You'll feel this across the front body too, the anterior core. as well as posterior core, because we're keeping the elbow close in by the side body, and that's going to bring more of that action into the lats. A lot of times we're too focused on front core and we're not getting back core and deep core. So continue to work with this and notice that I'm not going fast, I'm going nice and slow so that I keep my form and that I don't sag in the belly. One more each side. And then move those weights to the side and come into a downward facing dog. Lengthen through the spine, open up through the chest, deep inhale here. And exhale, lower slowly to the knees. We're gonna come up into a high kneeling position. Why? Because it's good to change up our positioning because it makes our hips and our legs and our glutes work differently than say if we were seated or standing. This is not a place that we spend a lot of time, so I'd like for us to spend some time there. We'll turn the underside of our forearms forward and we're gonna do what's called a drag curl. So this is a regular curl. Instead, this is a drag curl. It's similar to what we just did, which is why I'm bringing it in right now for the cellular memory that you've created. You're keeping your inner arms very close beside you and just dragging the weight back, elbows bend, dragging the weight diagonally back. It's a small range of movement. Drag, curl, bicep work. Let's take a few more of these depending on the amount of weight that you're doing. You might feel like you can do a whole lot if you have a small weight, and you might do fewer if you have a larger weight. And if it ever becomes too much, you actively work without weight and you're still really condensing and working at those muscle groups. And then from here, we'll turn the underside of the forearms to face us. Now, I would like you to be at the edge of your blanket for this so that you're a little higher up than the mat. And we're going to take our knees very close to the edge of that blanket. Again, underside of your forearms, face the legs. Tuck your toes, make sure the heels aren't rolling out or in, but right nice straight up and down. And we'll hinge at the hip crease. Arms stay straight this time. Hinge at the hip crease, hang the weights down, hover the hips near the heels, but not on the heels, and then straighten the legs back up, or rather decrease the hip crease. So crease at the hips, lean the weights forward, straighten up, weights come back. So again, this is not a huge range of movement as well, but we're getting into the lower posterior chain of the glutes and the hamstrings, often neglected in yoga, especially the hamstrings. We lengthen those hamstrings and we don't work them, but they're big muscle groups that we want to feel balanced from our quads to our hamstrings, and we want strong glutes. Now, if you want to make this a little harder, you're going to extend the weights more at a diagonal when you come down. So instead of right next to the knees coming down, the weights will go more diagonally forward. That will be accessing more of your core, so you'll be working harder for this. All right, 3 more. We're getting buns of steel. 3. Not that that's what we're looking for, although it doesn't hurt. 2. We're just wanting strength, right? Strong hips. 1. And all the way back up. Now, turn your forearms forward. I'm going to switch to a lower weight only because I have to talk through this whole thing. And we're going to do a classic bicep curl. Earlier we did our drag curl. Now our elbows stay right beside us. And the range of movement is just hinging at the elbow, up and down. We're staying in that kneeling position. Now, if your knees bother you, please come to standing, okay? You don't need to be in kneeling. It's just bringing more work to the glutes and hamstrings. Continue with that bicep curl. If you notice that you are leaning back to get those weights up, that means that your weights are probably too heavy for you and you need to take a break and come back, or decrease the weight and keep the head over the shoulders, over the pelvis, over the knees, and if you're standing, over the feet. We're not looking for fast movement here. We're looking for form-focused movement as we build those biceps. It's beautiful with weights because you can, if you're consistent with weights like every other day or maybe 3 times a week, you will feel a difference first, and then you will see a difference. Let's do 2 more. 1, and last 1, 2. We're going to come into a hold, so decrease the weight if it's a little heavy for you. We're coming into a 90-degree hold here. And then from here, rotator cuff. So I would recommend a smaller weight on this or no weight. You can even pretend to hold a weight. And then from here, you're not going to go far, but you're going to take the forearms out and back, out and back. So this is a movement we don't do very often, but is highly strengthening and helpful for our shoulder rotator cuff health. You know what I mean. 3, 2, and last 1. And hang the weights down and just let the weights do their work of tractioning the length of the arms. And now send your head to one side and the other. If you want to send it into a circle, please do that. Just check in that you're not holding tension around the neck or the jaw. Place your weights down and come into a downward facing dog. You guessed it. And then in this downward facing dog, you can stay there or go to your child's pose, something more like this, or you can hold a plank. This is if you just want a little more heat, a little more core work activity in the legs. And then optional, taking your hands underneath you and touching your thigh or the front of your hip wherever you can reach. This will be easier if you widen your stance in your feet because it'll help with balance. The closer your feet are together, the more challenging this becomes and the harder it is because you're kind of wavering a little side to side in order to balance. 3, 2, 1. Downward dog or child's pose. Big inhale and exhale, lower. So we've been a little more focused on the upper body, the glutes and the hamstrings and the core, but now we will get into those quads. So go ahead and come to standing, and you can grab, I guess, not too light. You can probably go a little heavier with this if you want, unless you're brand new to weights, because these are really large muscle groups, okay? So a little heavier is okay. And we'll go ahead and take our feet about sitting bone distance apart. So it's gonna be a little closer in to begin, and we're not gonna bend as deeply in the knees. So hinge back at the hips. You'll bend your knees, arms stay straight, and you're just going up and down with this. So it's a squat, hanging the weights down. And again, I don't want you to go too low with this. Up and down, arms straight. And then from here, we're going to turn the weights in front of us and continue to do that action. You're going to feel that where the weights are relative to the legs is going to change where you feel the work. And now let's integrate taking the weights to the sides and squat, taking the weights in front and squat. So continue with that. It's going to change a little bit of the work in the shoulders as well. And if you want to make this even harder, slow it way down. Sometimes we think more repetition and faster is harder, and that's true in some ways. But with weights, slowing it down, adding more time under tension really gets us a lot of work. One more time forward, and then all the way up. Let the weights just traction you here. And then we'll go wider with the feet. Now, depending on the seat of your hips, depending on how your femur head sits in your pelvis, you can either have your toes more forward for this or out to the sides. Totally up to you, okay? But we're gonna allow the weights to now hang down as we bend the knees. Now, if my feet are way close together and I'm doing more of a plie, I'm gonna widen my stance. So, up and down with the legs. And again, you can play with taking the toes and knees forward and see how that feels. You can externally rotate a little bit more and see how that feels. It will change what's happening in the groin. It will change what's happening in the glutes. Keep the chest higher up. Yes, you will lean forward slightly. That's the anatomy of the body, but I don't want you to be something like this. That's working different muscles than we're looking at right now. 3, 2, last one, all the way up. Walk the feet closer together. Deep breath in, sigh out. Move your weights to the side, and then widen your stance, and just circle a shoulder around, circle that arm, and then the other arm. I'm going into kind of forward, up, and back, rather than back, up, and forward, just to help open the chest, opposite to what we normally do in our daily work. One more time. And then let's take a momentary mountain pose and just find our breath. Unlock the knees. Release any tension in the glutes, any gripping. Deep breath in and shake that out. Okay, so from here, we're gonna come into a high lunge position, and we're gonna be doing this action, okay? Also this action. Because of this action, you might not wanna go too heavy with the weights. This one usually can do a little more, okay? So I'm just gonna use 5s on this one since I'm speaking. Take 1 foot forward and 1 foot back. Widen your stance like you're on train tracks, not on a tight wire. Take your weights up. Turn the underside of your forearms in the direction of your front foot. Start with your shoulder press. You're basically going 90 degrees, pressing up, 90 degrees, pressing up in a high lunge. And then once you have that action down, rotate elbows in, out, up, down. Now, you're not trying to touch the elbows together, mind you. You're taking them closer in. They can even go right in front of the shoulders. Slow it down if it becomes too much, and if it becomes too much in the legs, stand and work here, or do a split stance where you kind of kickstand 1 foot behind you. 2 more. Last one. Hang the weights down, soften the shoulders. Now lean your chest forward and let the arms follow. So lean your chest forward, draw your organs towards your spine and breathe here. Bring in your row from when we started class. And this is again getting into the back, but this time core, glutes, there's balance here. And you're doing this symmetrically instead of an asymmetrical lift like we started. 3, 2, 1. And then from here, hop your back foot in, create a little bit of a chair. Now straighten your legs to lengthen up and sigh out. Switching sides. Other leg is forward. Take your time creating that high lunge, okay? Because yes, you are in a balance. Bending into that front knee, knee and toes pointing the same direction here, as forward as is possible. Start with your pressing up so that you're integrating the balance of your legs with the movement of your arms. You can go slower if you want, and then in, out, up, down. Now, because we've already done the same action in the arms and we're just changing the legs, your arms are more tired than the first side. So take a break at any time or put the weights down. And if I don't say that on all my videos, which I probably do, if I don't, then please know that that's always an option. In, out, up, down. 2 more. Last one. All right, hang the weights down. Hinge the torso forward. Let the hands come below the shoulders. Breathe here and do your row. Inner arms very close to the side body. This is a ton of work in that front leg, drawing the organs towards the spine. If this becomes too much, drop the weights and continue the action. 3, 2, 1. Hang the weights down and walk that other leg into chair. Feet underneath the hips, straighten the legs, and soften the shoulders. Deep breath in and sigh that out. Move your weights over to the side. Inhale, reach up, lengthen through the spine. Exhale, fold any amount. You might be bending your knees on that fold. Inhale, rise halfway up, elongate the spine. And exhale, fold. Step back into downward facing dog. Breathe here and pedal out through the legs. Turn your heels in and your toes out with about 6 to 8 inches between the heels. Press the heart back, open the chest, and open the sides of the legs. Deep inhale here. Sigh. Turn the toes in and heels out. So this comes from the hips. I always want people to know this is not torquing the knees. This is coming from the hip socket. Let it. Deep breath in. And sigh out. Turn the toes forward. Lower down to the knees. Come into a child's pose, modified with the forearms down, and roll the wrists out. Now we want to stretch the underside of the forearms, critical. There's not any practice that I usually don't do this in. Turning the fingertips back with the shoulders over the wrist might be enough for most of us to feel that stretch, because this is very awkward, not something we do a lot. If you want a little bit more, tuck your toes under and reach the hips back to increase that stretch. Especially in carrying and holding heavy things, that really condenses the forearms, and we gotta stretch them out. And you can even sit further back and peel the hands slowly off and shake that out. We're gonna go back into some work for the glutes and the hamstrings. You can go heavier weight because this is more focused on the legs. Again, not too heavy that it becomes too much. These are Romanian deadlifts. So earlier we were bending the knees a lot more, okay? And this time it's a small bend in the knees, and we're just moving up and down. This also works the back, whole posterior chain. You're doing a very slight bend at the knees, a very slight hip hinge. The arms stay straight, and you're moving the torso up and down. Now, depending on your flexibility, you might be able to take those weights pretty low towards the feet. That's fine. If you have a little less flexibility, maybe this is coming in front of the knees and back up. So really, anywhere in between, it's going to do the good work. So don't worry about it. But do make sure that your legs aren't straight and you're not hyperextending the knees, please. Up and down here. Three, 2, and last one. Take the weights, hang them down. Place one weight down, and you just need one of your medium to heavier weights. I'm going to give you options, as always, the option queen here, okay? So we're gonna start just feet, hips distance apart or a little wider. Take the weight up, and we're just going up and down with the weight for working the triceps. The elbows are not splaying out, keep them hugging in. I know that feels very weird. Let it be weird. Okay, if you want a little bit more, you're going to shift your weight over into one foot, softening that knee, and just lift the other heel up with the ball joints of the feet down. If you want to work even harder on your balance, lift one knee up. This is an extremely advanced posture and movement. So if you're newer to weights, let's just focus on the triceps and the form first and not this. All right, switch over to the other side. If you did that, first just lifting the heel, and then as you're ready, maybe lifting the knee. You will probably find, as I do, as you can see, one side is a little easier than the other. So for me, balancing on my left foot is much easier than balancing on my right, which means I need to practice on my right a lot more, which I'm trying to do. All right, go ahead and take the weight in front of your heart, feet down, inhale. And exhale, lower the weight down. Soften out through the neck and shoulders. Move the jaw around, okay? And then we're gonna do a push here. So you're going to push to one side, push to one side. Now we're taking this long and away from us, which means it's pretty challenging to do so. So you might want to transfer to a smaller weight with this. You're just going to turn, one heel lifts, you're pushing away from the heel that's lifted and back and push. It's like you're just turning to the side, or you're in like a line, a conveyor belt line, and someone's handing you something, you're turning the other direction, and you're handing it to them with straight arms. You're bending in the middle as you make the switch. So there's an element of turn. There's not much twist here because you're letting your pelvis and your shoulders basically face the same direction, but turning like this and taking movements like this is really good for new neural pathways. Because why? You're not used to doing this. 3, 2, 1, and hang the weight down. Feet hips distance or wider. Deep breath in and sigh that out. Put the weight down and shake out the arms. You can do singular arms, one and then the other, or you can do both at the same time and then shake that out. Now, the next thing that we're gonna do is extremely weird. I recommend you try it. In fact, let's all try it with no weight first to get the form, and we might not even need weight, okay? So what it is it's taking your forearms together and making a little cup with your hands like this, and you're gonna move that up and down very slowly and in a tiny range of movement in front of you. Now, that might be too hard, okay? Because how often do we do that? That's gonna change the work in the back. So you might take your arms closer together and work maybe 4 inches, 3 inches apart. Now, if that feels like, hey, easy breezy, you will add a weight. The weight does not have to be heavy to really increase the work. Now, I don't want the weight in towards your head like this, but rather more straight up and down. This is something that you might never have done. And because of that, especially if you're using a weight, you will feel it in the next couple of days probably. 3, 2, and 1. Holy moly. Okay, place that down and then reach the arms back, lift the heart, lengthen up, inhale, and exhale, float the arms down and roll the shoulders. Now, like we started with at the beginning of class, only this time we're standing, you're gonna bend your knees and press the palms away from you and just kind of almost like you're twisting and turning, almost like you're driving here. You're going to open the side body and underneath the scapula, the shoulder blades, back and forth. Keep breathing. Oh, that feels good after that work we just did. And then shake the arms out, roll the shoulders, and loosen up through the jaw. Okay, so guess what? We get to come down onto our mats. So go ahead and come onto a seated position and just lean back and shake it all out. You can move the shoulders around, the head, whatever you like. We'll come down onto the back and we will take one, can be a heavier weight. You might want to practice this with no weight at all to begin, again, as the body gets acclimated. And if you do this practice more than once, you will have a cellular memory in order to feel a little bit more connected. So first option is knees are bent, feet on the floor, hips distance or wider. And you're doing a little bit of a peel up to lift even the lowest point and below your shoulder blades and back down. Arms stay straight. You're peeling up and you're trying to press your weight to the ceiling. It will come a little forward and up as you come forward and up. Okay, so you can stay with that. If you want to bring the legs up, you continue the work. The legs don't have to straighten. They can even be quite bent here and still do the same work as you peel up and peel down. Notice that you're peeling up slow and you're peeling down slow. You're not peeling up slow and then hanging back down, okay? So really keep both actions very focused. If this is too much for the neck at any time, interlace the hands behind the head and continue the action with your elbows forward. They don't have to be closing in, but more forward than out, okay? Because when you go out with your elbows, it creates a back bend in the back, and that's really hard to get into the core when you have a back bend going on, an upper back bend. So 3 more. 3, hug your organs towards your spine. 2, last 1, and all the way down. Bend the knees. Let the belly go completely lax, totally soft. Deep breath in and sigh. Reach the legs forward, open those hip flexors, reach the arms back, and stretch and wiggle and open. Move around all that heat that you've created. Move it around. Clear everything out. Clear out all the pathways. And then from here, you have an option to do bridging with a weight on your hips or not. So again, you can use a heavier one, but the main thing is that you make sure it's not gonna roll towards your face. So you do put kind of your thumbs there. Lifting up into bridge, letting the hips rise up. They don't have to go to the highest height. You can scooch the shoulder blades a little closer in. And then do a very slow is the name of the game, very slow lift and lower. And I'm gonna ask that you wake up the inner thighs a little bit because the knees, they wanna hang out to the sides when we're not controlling with the adductors, those inner thighs a little bit. So if this is too much, lose the weight and continue the gentle, slow movement up and down. If you are feeling like this is a breeze and this is not enough of a level for you as far as work, you'll walk the left foot way in, extend the right leg either into a bent knee position or a straight leg position, and you'll continue working there. This is an ungodly movement. It is a lot. We're only doing 3 on each side if you're choosing it. Walk the right foot into the middle. Left knee either stays bent with the movement or left leg extends. Your weight has to move way far forward to get that leg all the way straight, so it'll be slightly diagonally forward in order to keep the weight at your hips. Okay, 500. We just hit 500. Lower it down. Lift the hips up evenly and exhale, slowly come down. Move your weight to the side, hug your knees in. Now circle the knees around, whichever direction you want, or maybe you do a little bit of both. Free up those hips. Now for the hamstring stretches that we're gonna do, and we all deeply deserve from the work we did in our hamstrings and our glutes, you might want to use a strap. This could be a yoga strap or a tie from your bathrobe or a tie, like a suit and tie, or anything that works, or just your hands. Extend one leg, interlace behind that thigh, breathe here. You might decide that you can take the hands a little bit further lower or hold onto your strap. That would go across the arch of your foot. I really worked my hamstrings yesterday, so this feels like really plenty. I don't want to force my leg towards my face and kind of pick up my pelvis there. I want to ground my pelvis down and find a comfortable stretch. Comfortable is sort of, it might not be exactly the word, but I mean not painful, not forced. Breathing here, spread your toes out even. And then switch sides. Other side, hand behind the thigh or the calf. So one side might feel a little looser, a little tighter, just like I talked about with balance. We normally have a side that we're able to balance on a little better and one side that's probably less tight than the other. Grounding the pelvis. Again, you're not trying to pick up the pelvis in order to give the ego something like my leg's right near my face. No, we want to do the form correctly and feed the body in a healthier way than feeding the ego. Breathe as if you're painting the back of your leg with your breath. And hug the knees in, point and flex through the ankles. And move the toes around. And from here, we'll take a 4 shape. So the outside of your right ankle to the top of the left knee. Maybe this is enough of a stretch. Possibility that you will take your foot onto a wall, the foot that's further away. Or you'll take your hand through, right hand through the triangle you made, left fingertips either behind or in front of the left knee, and hug that in. I love to rock a little side to side with this one. Maybe draw some weird, odd-shaped circles. We'll put circles in air quotes there. And just simply switch sides. Again, maybe the feet don't, maybe that lower foot doesn't lift. Maybe it comes to a wall. And maybe you're drawing it all in. If you have a tendency to really clench in your jaw, sometimes adding this gentle rockabye swaying movement helps release that because it tells the nervous system, it's okay. We can just kind of float through this one. Unwinding, and once again, bring the legs forward, bring the arms back, full body lengthening. And sigh out. If it feels better for you to have your knees bent, do that. You could always put your blanket underneath your knees here and put your legs back down, or stay here. And before we go about the rest of our day, take a moment with the eyes closed, integrating the work that you did, slowing down through the breath. Let the breath be the leader of the band. Let everything else follow along. Smooth and easy. Release any gripping at the core. Everything is totally movable. And just give yourself a rest. Thank yourself for the hard work that you did, especially if you didn't feel like doing it, and also especially if you're newer to these movements, because it's weird to get into this. It becomes less weird over time, but especially as you're starting out, it's all brand new. Balance has to be incorporated, core stability, so many things. So bravo. Deep breath in. Sigh out. One more time. Inhale through the nose. Out through the mouth. And very slowly rolling to one side and pressing up to seated. If you want to place a blanket underneath you, feel free to do that. We'll just center for a moment, sitting up nice and tall, elongating the back of the neck gently, and recognizing that you are wonderful, you are capable, and you have gifts yet to offer and yet to receive in this life. Hands to the heart. Thank you so much for being here. The light of my heart honors the light of your hearts. Namaste.